President Muhammadu Buhari says the current administration under his leadership is well focused on completing its priority projects and programs in order to promote sustainable economic growth and development, as well as improve the living standards of Nigerians. Everything was going in place. He was speaking at the opening of the last ministerial performance review retreat hosted by his administration at the presidential villa in Abuja. He said the high-impact projects being implemented across the country are meeting the yearnings and aspirations of Nigerians. The retreat is organized annually by the Office of the Secretary to Government of the Federation to evaluate the level of progress made in the implementation of the 9 priority agenda of the administration. Addressing the gathering, President Buhari highlighted remarkable projects and progress that has been made in the areas of agriculture, economy, infrastructure, security, health, anti-corruption, among others.
Growth after negative growth rates recorded in the second and third quarters of 2020. The GDP grew by 3.54%.
Meanwhile, the president has expressed sadness at the devastation caused by floods in Bayelsa State. He extended the nation's condolences to the families of the victims and those affected by the natural disaster. 700,000 persons have been displaced in about 300 communities in villages in 5 of the state's 8 local government areas that were submerged in water due to rains caused by the floods. While the authorities in the state are taking steps to help people hit by floods, the president has directed that all federal agencies dealing with rescue and disaster management offer all needed assistance to Bayelsans. President Buhari blamed buildings on water channels, a disregard for early warning by NEMA, and the changes to weather caused by climate change as chiefly to blame for the floods that have so far hit 33 of the nation's 36 states, as well as the Federal Capital Territory. Over 2.5 million persons are affected by current floods, which hit Nigeria when Cameroonian authorities released water from the Alagdo Dam. Of this figure, 1.3 million people are displaced, 2,407 persons injured, and 603 persons have lost their lives so far. These figures were released in Abuja by the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, Hajia Sadiya Umar Farouk, while unveiling Nigeria's preparation to meet with the government of Cameroon over the release of water from Lagdo Dam. Farouk also tasked state governments to put more efforts on the evacuation of flood victims to higher grounds. She said about 121,318 houses were partially damaged, 82,053 houses were totally damaged, 108,392 hectares of farmlands were partially damaged, and 332,327 hectares of farmlands have been totally damaged. The Nigerian Meteorological Agency has predicted thunderstorms and sunshine from Monday to Wednesday across the country. NIMET's weather outlook released in Abuja predicted sunny skies over the northern region on Monday, with haziness over parts of Katsina, Yobe and Jigawa in the morning hours. It also forecast isolated thunderstorms over parts of southern Taraba later in the day. According to NIMET, sunny and hazy atmosphere is expected on Tuesday over parts of Katsina, Yobe and Jigawa, with chances of isolated thunderstorms over parts of Taraba in the morning hours. And away from that, the Academic Staff Union of Universities says it called off its 8-month strike due to a court order and appeals from Nigerians. A court of appeal had ordered the striking lecturers to return to class after the National Industrial Court ruled against the union in a case brought to it by the federal government. Days after the appeal court judgment, ASU called off the strike and ordered members to resume lectures. But the union's national president, Emmanuel Osodeke, said the decision was not because issues brought by the lecturers were fully addressed. He blamed the Minister of Labour and Employment, Chris Ngige, for taking the matter to court, arguing that the best way to tackle trade disputes involving academics is through negotiation. And to this, Osodeke said, the government should pay the salaries to the varsity lecturers, whom he added have to meet up with the backlog of classes missed during the strike. To politics now, flag bearer of the All Progressives Congress, Bola Tinubu, is asking former Vice President Atiku Abubakar to reciprocate the gesture he gave to him when he contested for presidency in 2007 under the defunct Action Congress of Nigeria by dropping his ambition and endorse him. Tinubu spoke today when he met with leaders from the northern part of the country under the umbrella of Arewa Joint Committee for an interactive session. The meeting was part of a wider interaction with select presidential candidates to discuss their plans for the region ahead of the elections come 2023. The appearance of the APC presidential candidate came 2 days after his arrival in the PDP and engaged in similar interaction with northern leaders. The APC presidential candidate also promised to rejig the security architecture of the area to strengthen the current anti-insurgency deployment of the federal government.
At a definite stand that will be in the interest of the country. We will mobilize resources to enhance the welfare of personnel and provide the right equipment and training required for them to secure us all. We will sustain ongoing efforts of increasing the boots on the ground, commensurate to our geography and population. This recruitment will be tailored to suit the need for specific cadre and expertise for each organ of the security architecture.
Atiku Abubakar, the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, has vowed to revive dead manufacturing industries in Kaduna as well as end banditry, which has plagued Kaduna for years. Speaking at the presidential rally which took place at the Ranchis B Stadium in Kaduna, the Wazirin Adamawa thanked the people of Kaduna for bringing him and giving him the highest number of votes in 2019, and he has vowed to take issues concerning Kaduna serious if the people vote en masse and ensure he wins the 2023 elections. The new Nigeria People's Party has called for caution on the part of political class from putting undue pressure on INEC ahead of the 2023 elections. National chairman of the party, Professor Rufai Alkali, gave the warning while speaking as guest on our news and current affairs program, Insight. Professor Alkali said political players should rather maximize the remaining time to put forward its program to the electorate and everyone concerned.
I think there's been a lot of improvement in technology, in communication, in interface. But I think they must also remain vigilant. Because one of the ways politicians try to do to undermine election, like I said, rigging does not take place on only the day of the election. Rigging takes place from the day people start talking about planning for elections, because they will always looking for the weakest point to attack, to hit. So therefore, it's very possible that the INEC, they will see it, if you don't compromise anything, they put a lot of pressure on it so that it can make its mistake and they say, hey, here we go. Women are
And now to news on the foreign scene. Iranian President Ibrahim Raisi has accused his U.S. counterpart of inciting chaos after President Joe Biden expressed support for protest in the wake of Mahsa Amini's death in custody. Iran has been rocked by protests since 22-year-old Amini's death on September 16, 3 days after she was arrested by morality police in Tehran for allegedly violating the country's strict dress code for women. The street violence has led to dozens of deaths, mostly among protesters, but also among the security forces, and hundreds of demonstrators been arrested. Biden has said Friday that we stand with the citizens and the brave women of Iran. Blasts rocked the Ukrainian capital, Kiev, and cities across the country earlier today after Russia attacked with a wave of explosive drones and missile strikes. President Volodymyr Zelensky said Russia launched attacks all night and all morning to terrorize civilians. Resident buildings in central Kiev were hit, killing at least 4 people. Among the dead were a couple expecting a baby. Dozens have been helped to safety by emergency workers in Kiev as a frantic search for people trapped in the rubble continues. Another deadly attack has taken place in the northeastern Sumy region where 4 people have been killed in a rocket strike.
Consequence of the war continues. This war continues sending shockwaves around the world. Russia is more and more isolated, as we could see on the vote last day in the United Nations. Morally, politically, even militarily, Russia is losing this war. So we have to continue supporting Ukraine. And that's what the ministers will decide today. I hope it's going to be a 6th new tranche of the European Peace Facility, military support, and this is a training mission, a powerful training mission.
Meanwhile, in Kiev's district, rescuers are still searching for survivors in the ruins of a block of flats that partially collapsed after this morning's attack. The street is cordoned off and dozens of firefighters and emergency workers are at the scene. 4 people have now been confirmed dead there after the body of a man was found. Across the street, the offices of Ukraine's energy company were also hit. The facility was probably the intended target of the strike carried out by so-called kamikaze attack drones supplied by Iran to Russia.
Oh, as much as they can. Yeah, like you said, the missile on Monday, one of them hit just up the road there, but the traffic's already going. In the park here, there's people busking, buying coffees. You can buy food and sit and drink a coffee in the park. And there was an air raid siren just about 10 minutes ago. As soon as that's over, people just come out from the metro or the shelters and they just carry on with what they're doing.
So it's clear that the respect to international law, to international human rights law, for international humanitarian law is absolutely critical. So the big call is to de-escalate and to find ways and means to respect international.
And now to news from the world of sports. Nigeria have qualified for the quarter-final of the FIFA Under-17 Women's World Cup. The Flamingos defeated Chile 2-1 to finish second on the log with 6 points. Blessing Emmanuel drew the first blood on the 4th minute of play for Bankole Olowokere managed team. Opeyemi Ajakaye's effort hit the woodwork as Nigeria pressed for the second goal. Bisola Mosako doubled the lead with 8 minutes left on the clock. A penalty kick was awarded to Chileans after VAR review indicated that the ball came off the arm of Mamuzo Edafe. Tali Rovna converted the brace to reduce the deficit from the spot. Meanwhile, in the other group game, leaders Germany humbled New Zealand 3. Technical director of the Nigerian Football Federation, Augustine Egwavoin, has paid a visit to the camp of the under-23 national team as the Olympic Eagles continued their build-up ahead of the 2023 AFCON qualifiers against Tanzania. The former Super Eagles captain and coach was received by the team's coordinator Bashir Badawi at the Lekon Salami Stadium in Ibadan. As the team as going through series of training sessions under the supervision of Coach Salisu Yusuf and his lieutenants Kennedy Boboye, Abubakar Balla, and goalkeepers Suleiman Shuaibu. An excited Egwavoin praised the coaching crew and expressed optimism that the team will soar past Tanzania in Dar es Salaam come Saturday. Meanwhile, the Olympic Eagles are expected to depart the shores of Nigeria on Thursday via Murtala Muhammad International Airport, Lagos. The first leg of the second round AFCON Under-23 qualifiers is scheduled to take place on October 22 in Tanzania, with a return leg slated for Saturday, October 29 at the Lekon Salami Stadium in Ibadan. And that's the news for Citizen FM 93.7. But before we round off, a recap of the highlights. President Muhammadu Buhari has promised to complete priority projects. A flood has affected 2.5 million people across the country. We also told you that 8 persons in Ukraine have been killed by Russian missiles. And Nigeria has qualified for quarterfinals of Women Under 17 World Cup. That's the news as edited by Lawrence Omoete. To listen to us online, please visit citizenfm.ng. I am Didieno. To stay with us.
Citizen FM Abuja.